Hello everyone, my name is Faith Lukonde and I am here at the Chinama Seventh Adventist Church annual camp meeting for the year 2025 in Rufunza. This is a wonderful worship gathering where believers come together to praise, pray, and grow in faith. I feel truly privileged to have the opportunity to speak with some of our dedicated church leaders today. We'll be exploring an important topic that touches on our holistic health. Specifically, the interconnectedness of mental health, substance abuse, and diet within our church community. Our aim is to understand how faith, lifestyle, and community support can help us live healthier, more balanced lives. So let's get started. All right, so I am here with Elder Mwape. Elder Mwape is an elder in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and to be precise, in the Chinama Seventh-day Adventist Church. Good afternoon, Elder.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing, and how is the camp going so far?
We are doing well, and the camp is going on well.
Amazing. So, Elder, just curious somehow, we just would like to know the connection between mental health, substance abuse, and the connection it has with diet. Could you kindly explain a little bit more about that, and maybe in the context of the Seventh-day Adventist Church and just beyond that?
Okay, thank you very much. I will give a scientific approach and then maybe briefly conclude it with what is from the religious perspective. So, my name's Benjamin Mwape. Like introduced, I'm an elder in the Adventist Church, and I'm also a public health specialist. This moment, I would love to say that there are several causes of mental health. Among them is number one, substance abuse. Also, genes inherited that predispose someone to develop mental health. Then the environment. Then the biology, the neurochemistry, chronic conditions like medical conditions, psychological conditions, childhood trauma, physiological trauma, social isolation. So multiple factors may be involved. I would love to zero into the aspect of the environment and the genetics. But like we have already mentioned earlier on, substance abuse is also a major factor in terms of mental illness. Now, these substances could be what are referred to as narcotics, but simply drugs that are abused, could be in various forms that may interfere with the way the brain functions. So, two aspects in relating mental health with diet. There are foods that are required for the body to function normally. Particularly also there are foods that are required for the brain to function normally, because mental illness has to do with the nerves and the brain. So absence of certain of those foods would lead to a development in some conditions which would be like mental illness. Additionally, certain foods, when they are consumed, have a negative effect on the brain. So there are two fronts. There is the absence of some foods, meaning consuming less of those foods, and also there is an abundance of certain foods. So let me begin with an absence of foods. Foods such as vitamin B12, vitamin B9, commonly known as folic acid, then zinc can cause someone to have loss of memory, which would be what is called dementia. Also, absence of these foods or low intake of these foods can lead to depression. Now, we need to understand that depression is a type of mental illness. How do we get to know this? When someone does not have enough vitamin B12 or vitamin B9, you discover that they will have a low mood, they will always be chronically fatigued, there will be a cognitive decline, meaning they will not be able to grasp certain concepts in terms of learning capacity will be reduced. They'll also be irritable. Now, according to a study that was done by Laura Lachance, who is a medical doctor from University of Toronto, done in 2015, it was seen that there is evidence linking diet to mental illness as time has evolved, such as nutrient deficiencies, and there is also an emphasis on certain dietary patterns. So dietary patterns that are high in processed foods. So whatever food is processed, it could be, yes, natural foods and the like. When they are highly processed, they end up having a factor because they will lose the micronutrients that are required. So processed foods have been linked to mental illness. Also, a Western dietary pattern where we have a lot of meats have also a strong correlation with an increased risk of developing depression and cognitive impairment, and also what is called ADHD. So these are mental illnesses that people can suffer from. Another study which was published in 2022 also confirms a study named Nutrition and Mental Health, a review of current knowledge about the impact of diet on mental health. This study also shows us that apart from B vitamins, magnesium and zinc, when we consume less fiber and less nutrient-rich vegetables and cereal products than recommended, we are likely to develop mental disorders, including depression. Also, consumption of alcohol, and also consuming foods that are rich in meats, so like red meat especially. High levels of red meat lead to mental illness because they will overwhelm what is called the antioxidant system, which is also implicated in psychiatric disorders because there are certain what are called neurotransmitters that will begin to malfunction because of the diet. So in summary, what I would love to say is that there is a strong relationship between substances being abused in terms of drugs because they will affect the way the brain is functioning, as well as mental illness in general with diet. It is also important to know that substance abuse has also been linked to diet. A diet that is high in processed foods, certain spices, and also high in animal protein, meaning the red meat especially, is linked to substance abuse. In that the body will begin to desire certain things because of the kind of foods it's eating, and so there is a higher chance of one who takes red meat to begin to have substance abuse. So the message that goes across is that we are encouraged to eat a lot of vegetables, a lot of nuts, because these naturally contain vitamins like vitamin C, which is an antioxidant. It takes away the stress that the nerves may suffer when we go through psychological stress. The nerves need to heal by being exposed to the antioxidants, which will not be present if we eat a lot of meat and processed foods, because they produce what we call oxygen-free radicals. These consume the oxygen that we have in the body, and so the body gets stressed, and when the nerves are stressed, the resultant effect is mental illness. So a good diet, it's actually recommended that a Mediterranean diet, which is simply a vegetarian diet, promotes mental health.
Sure, thank you. I think I just have maybe you can just do an emphasis, because a lot of people do not want to become vegetarians. They don't want to accept the fact that processed foods are not actually healthy. So maybe you can just emphasize on that one, especially to young people, because these mental health issues and the substance abuse, I think it's commonly found in young people. So maybe just an emphasis.
Thank you very much. Usually when you tell people on a social aspect the importance of eating vegetables and fruit and nut-based diets, people associate it with a low economic status. And they feel if you are not having anything meaty, it means you are unable to afford it. But then, let me say this. It is important for you to eat food as medicine before you start taking medicine as your food. What I mean by this is that every food that you eat should have some healing property and health promoting property. So when you eat foods that are good or rich in vegetables, nuts as recommended, you discover that these are not only going to satisfy your hunger, but they will also promote healing in your body, because these are good in terms of immune function. It is true that when someone is sick, that is when people bring things like fruits and nuts, those kinds of foods. But then we should not wait to be sick to eat those foods. Those should be our regular foods. When we are eating such foods, they promote the body in terms of its immunological function, being able to fight diseases, and also the repair. Finally, you realize that if you are a lover of wildlife, when you watch wildlife, all animals that eat meat never eat in peace, even as a family. They will always be aggressive with each other and fight, while animals that eat the greens, the grass, will always eat in peace. Further on, there are people who say vegetarian diet cannot cater for what the body needs. No, you need protein. My question is always, where does the buffalo or the elephant get its protein? Because it feeds on grass. And it is so big that it has protein that human beings want to demand to eat from. Even the cattle that we keep in our areas, in the farms, they feed on grass. But this is the same grass that will give them the protein that makes their bodies grow big, and we want to desire that protein. So the point is that even vegetables have a percentage of protein, in fact, enough to sustain human life. Remember, it's not about eating vegetables only. It's about eating leafy vegetables, nuts, and grains. That makes a complete and good diet for human survival. So it is important to realize that this will prevent you from getting diseases such as high blood pressure, diabetes, arthritis, and all these others that we term as non-communicable diseases. Even some cancers can be prevented by having a good diet. So it is your choice and it is your health. But ultimately, remember, take food as your medicine before you begin to take your medicine as your food. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elder. That was so insightful. Thank you so much for the information, and have a good day.
Thank you very much. Have a good day too.
Thank you. So I am here again with another elder from the Chinama Seventh-day Adventist Church, Elder Zico. And he's not just an elder, he's also a medical doctor, but he will further introduce himself. Good afternoon, Elder.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Lunga Mandla Zico. I'm an infectious disease specialist, but I am also a physician who is also well vested in tropical medicine. And so I have been practicing here in Zambia for the past 15 years.
Amazing. So, Elder, just before we dive into the interview, and could you share with us how the camp meeting is going so far? Because we know that we are in camp, and everybody knows. So, how is the camp going so far?
The camp has been amazing. It's sad that we have come to the end. This is just the second last day before we decamp. Otherwise, the fellowship has been amazing. The spiritual food has been great. The physical food has been great. The music has been amazing from Rudo and Faith. So I would simply say that this has exceeded my expectations.
Thank you for sharing that. So we are going right into the interview. So the Seventh-day Adventist Church emphasizes holistic health, body, mind, and spirit. How do you see the relationship between physical health, mental well-being, and spiritual growth within our community?
Well, the beliefs of the Seventh-day Adventist Church actually align with the WHO definition for health, which states that health is not mere absence of disease, but is the state of physical, mental, social, and spiritual well-being. So there is an interconnection between all these elements. That is, the physical affects the mental affects the spiritual. So if, for instance, you are not in good physical health, that is definitely going to affect your mental well-being. And we know that everything that we do starts from the mind. So the mind is the beginning of everything. What you do physically, how you think, how you process thoughts, how your understanding of various aspects, say the spiritual aspects and so on, has a great bearing on your mental well-being. Therefore, the connection between the physical, mental, and spiritual cannot be overemphasized. These cannot be separated. They always are interlinked.
Thank you so much for that insightful explanation. Moving forward, when you talk about research, I think research suggests that what we eat can significantly influence our mental health. So how does our church encourage healthy eating habits to support mental wellness among our members? And especially, I think our topic is focusing on mostly young people. So how does that work out? I think this emphasis should go especially to the young people about food.
Well, I would say the issue of food in this case actually affects the entire congregation, both old and young. Some of the connections that have been sought scientifically include, we have seen that with certain nutrient deficiencies, we get to affect how the brain functions. So certain vitamins like vitamin B, we know of various diseases. Vitamin B is basically, it's not just one vitamin. It has a lot of vitamins like vitamin B1, B2, B3, up to B12. So all these have different functions, and we get these from different foods. Deficiencies in some of these vitamins have a great impact on the nervous system, and the nervous system includes the brain, the spinal cord, and the various nerves. Now, since we're talking about mental health, we'll focus mainly on the brain. So some of these deficiencies will affect the function of the brain such that one would not think properly. And it will affect one's cognitive function, how they process things, and sometimes it can even lead to mental disorders. So vitamin B is just one example I have given. We can talk about other vitamins such as vitamin D, we can talk of zinc, we can talk of iron, we can talk of selenium. All these, when deficient, we can end up having certain mental health disorders. The opposite is also true. And we say deficiency, but there is the opposite where you have the vitamins in excess. That can also lead to certain mental health disorders. And like I said earlier, what you do and how you think all starts from the brain. So the moment you affect the central nervous system, you are affecting everything about yourself. You are affecting how your physical will be. And the foods that I have also talked about will also definitely not only affect the brain, but they'll affect other parts of the body as well. And if you are not functioning well in the brain, in your body, you will also not function well spiritually. So the church has a strong health message, and one that is tailored towards us getting back to God's original plan. If we indulge in God's original plan and eat the foods that were prescribed by God right from the beginning, you will find that you will not need any of these supplements. God prescribed fruit, He prescribed nuts, seed. I'll tell you that there's a lot of zinc that you can find in nuts, in seed. Nowadays, you even see people eating pumpkin seed. That is rich in certain nutrients, including zinc. Iron, we cannot even talk about it. There are a lot of plant-based foods that have a lot of iron. So the bottom line is that if we go back to God's original plan, which is what the Seventh-day Adventist Church teaches, we will not suffer from most of the diseases that we suffer from. And if we don't suffer from those, definitely our mental health will be intact. If you are unwell with whatever illness, your mind will be focused on you getting well and nothing else. You will be worried, there will be anxiety, there may be depression. But if you are in top-notch health condition, you will be thinking about other things. And that's where now we talk about it affecting your spirituality and also affecting our evangelistic theme, that I will go, rooted in God's family. You can only go if you are in good health. You can only go if you think properly. If you do not think properly, what message are you going to give to people out there? Yeah.
Nathan, thank you so much. That was very insightful. Now, just the last question. I think we've mainly focused on mental health. Now we can touch a little bit on substance abuse. Yes, so substance abuse can also impact both physical and mental health. So how does the church teachings and community support help individuals break free from addiction and rebuild their mental resilience?
So when we talk of substance abuse, the first thing that comes to mind is the most common substance, which is alcohol. And we know that alcohol is consumed not only by non-Adventists, but even by Adventists. Unfortunately, that is the reality. And not only alcohol, there are many other drugs that have a huge impact on both the physical as well as the mental. And we've already established that connection, that once there's a derangement in the physical and the mental, it will definitely affect the spiritual. And unfortunately, some of these drugs or substances tend to also cause addiction. Now, let me just borrow the words from our speaker today, speaking from the book of Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10 up to 13, where it is emphasized by Paul to the church in Ephesus that we wrestle not against flesh and blood. That simply means that some of these issues to do with addiction, the moment you want to do them on your own, you want to get unchained from those addictions on your own without the power of God, you will be losing the battle. So without Christ in your fight, you are going to lose the battle. So we know that God will not do for us what we can do for ourselves. Okay, so there is a role that we can play if you are in that situation. There's a role that you can play. You need to, first of all, identify that is a problem. The moment you identify that is a problem, that is a good starting point. If you do not see it as a problem, it is something that you will not even seek help. So the moment you identify that it is a problem, that is the good starting point. The next step is for you to really understand that you breaking free is not going to be easy. So understanding again that it is going to be a difficult process for you to break free, that's another good step. And that will then lead you to seek appropriate help. So appropriate help, in the medical profession, we have counseling, we have rehabilitation centers and so on. I greatly recommend those because there are certain programs that have helped a lot of people. But we should also understand that this is a spiritual fight. In as much as we can seek the help from the medical professionals, we should not forget to seek help from the great Redeemer, the one who has the power to help you break free from that bondage. So basically, I would say that's the advice that I would give, and this is the approach that the church takes. At Chainama, in the health department, we are now looking at having some counseling sessions or providing counselors to the church members. We have counselors that are professionals within the church, but peradventure one may opt not to use counselors within the church, people that they know. They may probably want to be counseled by someone that is unknown. So we'll be able to also provide the link to counselors outside Chainama Church so that someone can seek the services from wherever they feel they would be the best helped.
Amazing. That's such a great initiative for a church. But just before we wrap up, Elder, could you just summarize everything under 30 seconds? Like, what would be your closing remarks on the topics that we have discussed so far?
Well, the connection between the physical health, mental health, and spiritual health is something that is quite deep. You cannot neglect one and expect to flourish in the other. You need to ensure that all the three are well taken care of. health is not something that just comes by chance. You need to work towards it. Just like in the spiritual health, you need to read the Bible, you need to pray, you need to follow the guidelines that are provided for by our great Redeemer in the Holy Word. That's how you nourish your spiritual health. Physical health also has to be well taken care of, just like mental health. And that also includes the foods that we eat. What we put in our bodies have a great impact on the physical, the mental, and the spiritual.
No, thank you very much, Elder, for your time. We've had some insightful points from you. So thank you so much. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
And there you have it, viewers, our listeners, an inspiring glimpse into how the Seventh-day Adventist Church champions a holistic approach, nourishing the body, mind, and spirit. Remember, health is a journey, and faith plays a vital role in that process. Thank you so much for joining us today. Stay blessed, stay healthy, and keep shining. Until next time, it's a goodbye from me.